Okay. Order at 6:30, Chair Fagan.
Here.
Present. Vice Chair Biggs, right?
Here.
Secretary Ardura is present. And then moving from my left, Commissioners Dallas. Here. Lenning.
Present.
Stryker. Here. Maddox. Here. Neal.
Here.
White.
Here.
Kepler.
Here.
Bates.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Blair. And
Oh, we say
Iconic.
Kipla?
Kipler.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Moore.
Correct.
Okay. We're all here.
Great, thank you. So as I mentioned, I did send a copy of the agenda around before the meeting, so I'm gonna ask if there's any additions, deletions, anything regarding the agenda before I move to approve it. Okay, hearing none, I'm gonna go ahead and ask that we move forward with the agenda as it was presented and as I'm looking at here tonight, so on to the approval of minutes from our last meeting. Want to ask if anybody has any comments on the minutes that our secretary sent from our last meeting. Distribute those to everybody. Thanks again for great minutes and real timely in getting those out to everybody. Any corrections, additions? I thought they looked good, so I'm gonna make a last full commission meeting in December. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Great. So moving on to the agenda, if you've not been to a meeting before, I list on the agenda the City of Columbus staff reports and keep those bullet points on there just as placeholders. Sergeant Fred Brophy is here from the Division of Police, is here tonight to start us off. So welcome, Sergeant Brophy. Thanks for being here. And there's a microphone out there.
So the people at home can hear me, right? All right, good evening, everyone. So my name is Sergeant Fred Brophy. There's a lot of handful of new commissioners, so I thought it'd be a good idea for me to come out and introduce myself. For those who don't know me, I've been with the Columbus Division of Police for just shy of 30 years. I've worked out on the west side of town in a couple different facets over the past 12 years. My primary responsibility now is what I do is I run and manage the Zone 3 community response team. That means I have responsibilities throughout the entire west side of the zone, dealing with basic problem solving, proactive type of policing that we do. The Greater Hilltop Area Commission boundaries is actually now, because of some reorganization, it sits within 3 separate police precincts. So with that being said, if you have primary issues within the neighborhood, the first points of contact is going to be the community liaison officers. But unfortunately, because there are 3 separate precincts within these boundaries, that means there's 3 separate officers that need to be contacted. Doug White for the 8th precinct, which is going to be the far east portion of the Hilltop Area Commission area. The center portion of it, Officer John Cody, and towards the west end of it will be Officer Rob Bruce that handles any of those things. I would say make those your first points of contact. What I will try to do is throughout the years come and give updates about broad issues that are affecting public safety in the Greater Hilltop Area Commission boundaries. So just a little bit of recap. Well, Happy New Year, everyone. We're into 2024. So I went in and I kind of looked at a little bit of statistics, some of the things that are most important, focusing on public safety. The big issues, homicides, shootings, felonious assaults. So there was actually quite a bit of a drop in the homicide rate between 2022, 2023. In the boundaries of the commission, there were 22 homicides in 2022. This past year in 2023, there was 5. One of those actually was a justifiable homicide of self-defense. So we're looking at criminal homicides at the rate of 4. That is a precipitous drop. So that's good to see. However, what we are seeing is that felonious assaults and discharging into habitations, which we talked about, those numbers are fairly steady. With 125 felonious assaults in 2022 and 131 in 2023. So those numbers aren't changing that much. That is an area I think we need to start taking a little bit of a look at on what can we do to reduce those type of incidences. I do not have absolute stats on this because it's tough to pull these out citywide. But what we do know is that for the most part, property crimes are down throughout the rest of the city, with one exception being thefts of automobiles, stolen cars. Stolen cars are still up, So, and that is something that we are attempting to address. I think both the police department's proactive approach to some of the things that we're doing with automobile thefts, combined with the court systems taking these things as a little bit more serious, as not just property crimes, I think is going to start garnering some results with that. But the other part of that, an associated crime with that is kind of a little bit alarming to me is thefts from automobiles where firearms are stolen are still very, very high. A significant number of our guns that are diverted into the criminal market are coming from just this. So unattended firearms that are left in automobiles that are stolen are then we're finding out are actually being used in some of our violent crimes. It is a Second Amendment right to possess a firearm. We're not here to debate that, but what I will say is if you are a gun owner, you please be responsible with that. Do not allow your firearms to be unattended and stolen so that then they can be used and harm somebody else. So that's one thing we would like to see. One thing a lot of people ask about is staffing. What we will say with the staffing with the Division of Police is we are still at about our 2019 staffing levels. City Council is continuously approving us to have police classes. The goal is to have a minimum of 4 police recruit classes per year. But just like every other employee that's out there, we're having significant issues with applications and retention. We are not filling classes. So folks, if there's somebody inside your family, it's a young person that's looking for a very, very rewarding and good stable career, have them give us a call. You can always use good people. All right. Any other questions?
You said young person. What's the top limit? You could be what?
We don't have any age limit.
Right.
We don't have any age limit. So anybody that's looking for it. But the reason I say young people is because if we can get somebody in young, we can develop a long-term career for somebody. I mean, it's just a fantastic place to be. Yeah, if you're midterm and you want to look at law enforcement, there's nothing wrong with that. But like I said, the reason I say that is because it'd be fantastic for people we know are going to be here, 30 years for the community. It's been a great job. I'll be the first one to tell you. I've really enjoyed my entire career. I'm closer to the end of it than I am at the beginning of it. So, I've got a lot to look back at. I wouldn't change anything for the world, to be honest with you. It's been a good job. Anything else? Folks, thank you very much for your service. Oh, I'm sorry.
Is there been any movement on hiring more for mental health professionals?
So actually, and that's what that has been happening outside the Division of Police. There is an care crisis response.
Repeat the question.
I'm sorry. So, is there adding mental health professionals toward this? We currently have the city has a contract with the Net Care to have their emergency crisis teams go out, and we in conjunction with what we call our right response team. So when people call into the dispatch line, if there's no acts of violence, we have somebody who's in a mental health crisis, the right response is going to then try to leverage sending the crisis response team, not the police department. So that has hit the ground this year. They're out there now. And that is also in conjunction with the mobile response teams, which we have 5 of those units on the division. That is a police officer that has a licensed social worker, a mental health professional inside the car with them. So but those are leveraged, or those usually will respond to your chronic mental health or chronic probate type of situations. So those 2 things are actually happening outside the Division of Police to eliminate police officers from being dispatched on those runs in the first place. All right, so that's the plan is to expand that.
Gotcha.
Thank you very much. I'm interested in perhaps your theories, or if you have like concrete reasons yet for why the rate the number of homicides in 2022 went from 22 to 5. It's a pretty big drop.
It is a big drop.
Boundary change or something.
No, it wasn't a boundary change. We're seeing this across the country, and just like anything else, I mean, we all have our theories, but until we delve into you're just in. So let's take some time to analyze some of the things that may have happened to give a better answer to that. I hate to fire off on the cuff and always be wrong. I always err on the side of, hey, let's delve into the numbers, let's delve into the research, and we'll know the answer shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, folks? Yes, sir.
So doesn't go along with shootings and that kind of stuff, but broken windows. I've noticed a lot of cars parking on sidewalks. I get parking up on the curb, whatever, that ruins the curbs, folks,
Yes.
but whatever. creates muddy pits that people then complain about, but they're doing it themselves. What can we do about parking on sidewalks? Because that in and of itself is
That
different.
back to where the Division of Police staffing levels are at. So the first thing I will say is put that into the 311 system. And to keep police officers from dealing with those situations because of our staffing level, we're doing kind of like the same thing we are with mental health. That is going to go over to the city's parking bureau to deal with, parking enforcement section.
What hours does parking work?
That I don't know.
Because
I'd have to get
the
to-
issues are
Yes.
parking closed at 5. I can park wherever I want. Good to go.
Well,
So now I know I can
right.
park where I want. I can park up on that curb. I feel emboldened to do more now. I can park on a curb.
Yeah.
I can carry a gun. I'm not supposed to. I'm a felon. I'm not allowed to have, but I can park on a curb. They're not enforcing anything it's that broken window. But
Yeah, it is.
so that's the issue. If parking enforcement only works till 5, same thing with code.
Yes.
I can call it in all day.
Mhm.
It's not gonna be a problem at 5 in the morning. It's a
Right.
problem 5 at night. So.
And again, I don't necessarily have the complete answer,
Okay.
but other than I do believe that getting the analytics at specific times in the 311, that shows the need of having those people work later. So that tells the city, well, we need to change the hours for that unit. Okay. So, it's not a great answer. I'm not gonna tell you, but again, if the parking complaints come in and it's not an emergency, it's not blocking a fire, it's not blocking a fire hydrant, it's not blocking the front door, they're not gonna send it to us.
I've seen individuals in wheelchairs, for
Yeah.
example, have to hop the curb, go into the middle of the street to go around.
Yes.
That to me is a safety issue on multiple.
I don't
So-
disagree with you. I agree with you.
Thank you.
But so that's how they decide to handle it.
I got it.
Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know how you answer this question, but in terms of recruiting,
Yes.
how do you try to connect with other community members? Because we have folks here from the community to get a little more understanding about how the rate of help works, and then potentially also partnering with.
I think it'd be a great opportunity for me to talk to the people that work in the recruiting unit, come out and visit a meeting.
Okay.
I'll make that happen.
Oh,
Mhm.
of course.
And this is a little old, but in July of last year, the FOP launch president made comments about what is it, back in the day, that was the penalty you got for doing really bad things. Today you get nothing, in reference to a comment about lynching. So I wanted to see if there was any update on that, or there could be an explanation.
I'm here as a representative of the English Division of Police, not as a
Yeah.
member of the FOP.
Okay,
And especially about that particular situation, I cannot make it.
okay, but you're represented by the FOP
I am represented by that.
and Lunch Night,
Yes,
and so you are a voting member, I assume.
I am.
Okay. So,
You'd have to ask me.
okay, gotcha. Okay.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Up next on the agenda is, our zone attorney for this area, GHAC Nguyen, is no longer in that position, and we have a new zone attorney that's gonna be starting on January 8th. So I just made a point to make sure that we, invite Rob Dorsum to our meeting. I don't know if he'll be able to make the February meeting or not, but we'll certainly, meet Rob, bring him in. So we don't have a report from the city attorney's office tonight. I don't know if, anybody's here from city council. Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Overlooked you. Yeah. The front row, I looked right past it. We'll have here.
Thank you so much for having me at today's meeting. My name is Cole Calloway. I work for the Community Engagement Department for Columbus City Council. I come from Michigan. I hail from Michigan, so I'm sorry about that. But I work for City Council and I represent the West Side area commissions. So briefly, I just want to cover what happened in last night's reorg meeting. This year, obviously, there's some pretty substantial and unprecedented, for lack of a better way of saying, changes that occurred through our city council. Namely, the expansion from 7 to 9 members. That's obviously factoring in the growth that Columbus is going to be seeing in the coming years. So we felt that it was time that we need to expand the council. Also, the hybrid district system. We have 9 members and they represent 9 distinct districts, but they also are at large, meaning that they serve the entire city. So those are kind of the high level things that occurred this election cycle. And I will also touch on the terms of service that also took place last night at our meeting. There was a casting of lot system that established our service terms. So meaning there's 5 4-year terms and there's 4 2-year terms for each one of the council members. I'm gonna go ahead and read who got what. So for the 5-year terms, our city council president received 4-year terms, 4-year terms. Our city council president, Shannon Harden, received a 4-year term. We also had our newly elected council member, Chris White, who received a 2-year term. Further, we had, well, it's probably easier if I just go down and tell you the one by one. So I'll tell you one by one, starting from District 9, which is Council President Harden's, and I'll tell you what the number of his term limit, and also I will tell you what his committee assignments are. So as I just said, he has a 4-year term. He will be the chair of Rules and Policy Committee, excuse me. And he also is the vice chair of the Zoning, Workforce, Education, and Labor Committee. President Pro Temp Rob Dorans, who represents District 3. He is serving a 2-year term, so his term ends in 2025. He is the chair of the Zoning and Workforce Committee. Moving further down, newly elected member, as I just said, Chris White, he received a 2-year term. And he is chairing the Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee. Nancy Day Acauer, who represents District 2. She received a 4-year term, and she will be chairing Neighborhoods, Recreation, and Parks Committee. Emmanuel Remy received a 2-year term, and he will be serving the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Councilmember Nick Bankston, representing District 5. He will be serving both Finance Committee and Finance Economic Development Committee. And I'm sorry, that's 2 separate committees. Finance and Economic Development and Small Business Committees.
How many years is Bankston?
Nick Bankston is a 4-year thing. Moving down, newly elected member Melissa Green, representing District 6. She is serving a 4-year term, and she will be the chair of the Public Health and Social Service Committee. Lourdes Barosa de Padilla, representing District 8. She had a 4-year term, and she will be serving the Public Service and Transportation Committee. And then finally, Representative Councilmember Shayla Favor. She received a 2-year term, and she will be serving the Housing, Homelessness, and Buildings Committee. So that's high level, what happened at yesterday's meeting. We cast the lots to determine, what each member will be serving in terms of their term, and then also they established the committees. So that was the main 2 items that were addressed. Yeah.
If you mentioned, I'm sorry, how did you go about casting lots? What was your process for that?
The process was actually they pulled ping pong balls from a bag, which is a little wonky, to be honest with you. But, it was it was completely randomized. That was the intent of it. And the white ping pong balls that designated, 4-year terms, and then orange designated 2-year terms. Any questions?
So in 28, that election will be still, if there's no charter amendment, all at large, and then all 9 will have to run, well,
No,
because the 4 that do 2 years
yeah,
will be staggered.
yeah.
Got it.
So what's gonna happen is, this is gonna be the only time that we kind of do this casting of a lot system.
Right.
So moving forward, everyone will be a 4-year term. So this was an effort to make it stagnated.
Yep.
So that's why this
Thank
came
you.
about. Any other questions?
Will you be joining us now on a regular basis?
Yes, I will be. I'm representing all the West Side area commissions,
Yeah.
so obviously including you guys.
Yeah, fantastic.
Good. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Typically with our city of staff reports, we would move on to Olabisi. She said she was gonna be here a little bit late. I don't see Olabisi here yet, so when she gets here later, we'll hear her report. And then it's Nick Plauk here from the Department of Neighborhoods to get, no, he's not here tonight. Haven't heard from him this time, but Nick Plauk will give regular updates on the Envision Hilltop plan at this meeting. So we keep him on the agenda just to keep us updated on how that's happening from month to month, quarter to quarter. All right, so that concludes the City of Columbus staff reports. On to announcements. Is there any announcements from commissioners that they'd like to share with each other or the group here tonight?
There is going to be another community development meeting for Hans Park tomorrow at Glenwood Rec Center from 5:30 to 7:30. It's kind of informal. The last one went pretty well back in December. The committee for the redevelopment is asking for community input on what we want to see, the amenities we want to see in the park. They've got really good design renderings already, and like a laundry list of items we've already talked about. So if you can make it out to Glenwood Rec Center tomorrow, 5:30 to 7 is when they're going to be there. It's very quick and informal, so there's nothing you got to sit through and listen to, but they're definitely asking for everybody's feedback and opinion about the redevelopment of Hans Park.
Great, thank you. Okay, hearing no other announcements, is there anybody here in the audience that has an announcement they'd like to share? Okay, thank you. We will move on to reports of officers. As the chair, just wanted to welcome officially our new commissioners, Keith Smith, Nick Bates, Keith Neal. Jenny Kepler has been reelected, so those make our 4 newly seated commissioners. Most of you have sent me your email and or your telephone number. Please do that if you'd like to be put on the contact list. Once I get everybody's email and phone number, I'll put that all on a contact list for us to share with each other, so you have everybody else's name, their email, their phone number. We'll make sure we update that with it. If there's any corrections, if anybody has the phone numbers, anything like that, please email me. Just continuing to represent us on the Zone In Columbus projects. We've continued to meet. I'll have to pull up the next meeting. We took kind of a break here, but going to be back to meeting on a regular basis. So continue to do work in that space. So that's my report for this evening. Is any other, we don't have a treasurer right now, so we're going to make an election later on, but Olabisi, normally every quarter we do a treasurer's report. I did want to make a quick announcement about that. I went back and watched the education training video that the city of Columbus put on about what's happening with the funds that we receive, the $2,500 a year that we receive in program funds. For new commissioners, we submit a budget every year, and the city provides $2,500 to be able to use for very specific things. Supplies like the license that we have to have with Zoom to be able to stream, they fund that. We typically would get a debit card and a checking account, And we were able to make purchases up to $2,500. The city approves all of that. We disclose all the receipts and all of that, but we are no longer, none of the commissions are allowed to have debit credit cards anymore. They're working on a new process. So Ola BC has what's called a procurement card as our neighborhood liaison. So those lights were not completely on for me. I thought, oh, we just send her a receipt and she can write us a check or whatever, right? Or to the vendor. But there's a procurement card that she has. So I know there's been some requests now. We have $2,500. We haven't spent any of it. She gave me an email earlier today saying this is your report for the month on what your balance is. So if you have an expenditure that we need to bring forward, we just need to let her know. And then she has what equates to a credit card that she can be able to make a purchase on our behalf. So quick update about how that's going to work. And hopefully we'll be getting more instructions on how that's going to work later this year. But right now we still have a balance of $2,500 is my official treasurer report for this evening. We have not expended any money this year. The program year ends April 30th. Begins new again in May 1st. So we have the opportunity to cover what we budgeted for between now and the end of April. So any other officers have a report for this evening? Or Vice Chair Victoria Bates-Fry, Secretary Joe Hardrow. Okay, great. We'll move on. We're just about on time tonight. Report of our committees. So if you've not attended a meeting before, we have 3 active committees that meet throughout the month. They work on projects, they work on assignments from this full commission. So we'll start with our zoning committee, our chairperson, Rachel Winning. If you go to the agenda, there's potentially 2 applications this evening. So I'll turn it over to you and give you this microphone.
Thank you. We do have 2 applications that evening. Both of them were heard at our zoning committee meeting near the end of December. The first application is for 2975 to 2977 West Broad Street. It's Mr. Roper today. Okay. If you want to come up to the podium. I'm just going to introduce the application and then you can take it from there. Sure. So the request here, this is CV 23-135. Mr. Ripper is the office manager for West Broad Spine. Is it West Broad Spine and Rehab?
Yes, correct.
So he has been managing the office and he's here representing the applicant who's the owner of the building. The owner, who is William Bassick, for West Broad LLC, is requesting this variance due to the fact that they purchased this property in November of 2014. Property is zoned R4 residential, but the auditor's site states the property class is C commercial. It was being used as a commercial property when it was purchased. In the application, you can see there, Mr. Bassick says, without the variance, we would have to cancel the lease with the tenant healthcare practice, West Broad Spine and Rehab. They would have to sell the property. At the zoning committee meeting, we did discuss a few code violations, which I think Mr. Roper can probably update us on. I know at least one of them they had already addressed, but they didn't seem to be major code violations. And you can take it from there.
So yeah, some of the code violations, we have like 3 sets of stairs, one at the, close to like the main entrance, like if you're looking at the building, if you're looking at the side, there's 2 sets of stairs, one to the left, one straight ahead. There's also right there by that white sign, there is also another set of stairs. So one of the code violations was that we needed at least 1 handrail for each set of stairs for safety measures. So all 3 of those handrails have now been installed since the last meeting. Another code violation that we had was painting for the trim around all the windows that are like none of like the upper windows, all like just like the lower ground level windows and anything on the ground. So what we have going on right now, obviously with the cold, we have most of the paint stripped from those, kind of just waiting for certain days, obviously to warm up the paint, so it's not, we don't have to turn around and do it again in the spring, if that makes sense. So we have 1 layer of paint that has been started on certain parts of the building due to the warm weather around Christmas time. We are waiting for him to finish up the first coat and this go around and do a second coat for that. One of the other code violations was the parking lot in the back. The lines are very faint So we just signed a contract with the guy that did our handrails and is doing that painting. He is coming tomorrow to stripe all those lines, so that by the end of the week, the line should be at least striped. And like I said, once the weather gets a little bit warmer, we'll be able to finish up that painting ASAP.
And during the zoning committee meeting, I think we asked how long this office lease has been going on with the spine rehab. Do you know how long you've been leasing the spot?
So they've been there since 2010 is what I was told from William. I told him that I was coming to this meeting. If there was a question, I knew that was maybe one of them. I mean, if you'd like me to get that exact answer, I could just call.
I mean, any of the other commissioners might ask you other questions, but
No,
that was just something that
Yeah.
I was wondering. But besides that, I think some of the things we discussed were just how many people are working there. I think you have one chiropractor who's working
Just-
there.
So since we did hire a technician, their numbers have gotten up there pretty high. We now are close to 50 active patients. It's 44 active patients, if I believe correctly, 43, 44. And so we hired a tech that basically kind of helps me out, takes a little bit of weight off my shoulders, does all like the different therapies, gets me in with the nurse, and then I can kind of focus on more of the bigger problems, like taking care of these code violations, getting someone in, dealing with the billing records, different things like that that go to the attorneys that we deal with and different insurance companies as well.
Okay. Ms.
I
Pepler?
I just did a quick search and, it was a chiropractor back in the early 2000s. Like years ago, like I went there, for service once, I forget. But that property has been, a business of some sort since 1938. So it's really weird that they're not already zoned for some sort of commercial purpose.
Right, and this owner believed that it was commercial when they bought it, because they bought it from an operating business.
Yeah.
I'll open it up to questions from other commissioners.
Is there any screening requirement for the dumpster out back? I noticed there's none in the Google photo, but
So
that's like one of the big thing that zoning does is you gotta have screening for your dumpster.
I would be honest with you, I'd have to contact my upper management about that question. I'm not entirely sure. I've never heard any complaint. I've been with the company for about 6 months now, a little bit more, and since I've been with the company, I haven't heard any. Like, I've had a bunch of different city people there. We had a backflow issue that we had to take care of as well. We needed new meters as well, so we did that. So since all the different people that I've seen from Columbus, nobody's said anything or brought anything to my attention, but that'd be a question I have to kind of follow up to double check.
Anyone else? Do we have any questions from community?
I have a comment.
Mr. Griff?
There's across the city, in your favor, your companies, across the city, there are many properties that the zoning code is lagging behind on. This is a common issue across the city. In fact, I think that there's a large effort to correct that sort of thing. So I'd say that you guys aren't alone in that, and I appreciate the fact that you're making improvements on that. It's a very nice looking building.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So you've been operating out there for 6+ months?
Yeah.
Okay. Wasn't it like a month or two ago, there was like a massive police presence right outside your building?
Since I've been there in 6 months, I've never had any police in my building, at least.
Okay.
Might have been across the street. I'll be honest with you, like you hear sirens and cop lights obviously go down that street a lot. There are a lot of accidents that happen right there by that Marathon gas station coming by that school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a couple different accidents, like, cause we have kind of weird hours, I go 9 to noon, not a 2-hour lunch, so we can fit people in afterward.
Yeah.
So we're here 2 to 6. When
No,
I
it definitely seemed like it was going towards your building or a building like right next door to yours. So there has not been any police presence
No.
to your or.
So since I've been there, I've not had any police in there, to be honest with you, the office manager that they had before me. I think that could be the incident that you were relating to. There was a different reason why they got rid of the office manager. He had a couple different problems going on that they didn't know about, ended up, if that makes sense, like he had an ambulance. Like, well, on medical reasons, I was never told that, if that makes sense. It's not my kind of place to be told about other people's medical, but I know that he had, I think at the hospital. Not
Okay,
sure what happened, but it was the old office manager. before.
gotcha, okay. And then just out of curiosity, is there a reason like the company doesn't have a website or?
So we don't, what we specialize in is we're not like an actual chiropractor where you come in with your medical insurance card. I deal with all auto accidents. So if anyone that's been turned into a prior car accident, that wasn't at like fault, for example, and had back pain, stuff like that. Cool.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Are there residential units upstairs or is it
So
just?
we actually have the whole building. So if you're looking at that building, there's 3 doors. There's one to the left, one in the middle, and one to the right. The one on the far right is the entrance to the building. The other 2 doors we do not use. We keep everything kind of on the right-hand side. We are trying to kind of do some renovations inside, kind of open up more with like the big ramp that we've had in patients. Kind of need a little bit more space. So we're trying to start using like the left side of the building. Kind of like the middle's more, I feel like kind of like upstairs basement type deal. It's kind of like it's an odd building if you get in, if that makes any sense.
I think many of the properties along that stretch of Broad, including towards Roy's and Broad, they were originally homes that where the proprietor of that business actually did live on site. Because there was a doctor at the corner of South Roy's. Your particular building was, they were realtors. But there are multiple like residential type structures that were actually not just the proprietor's home, but their office as well. And so I don't understand how there's not, like, maybe the zoning code just doesn't.
I think back then, the zoning code allowed along almost all of Broad and all of Sullivan to have a home that you operate a business out of.
Yeah.
And then they changed the code.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's no other comments, I will move to approve this request.
There's a hand in the audience.
Okay, sorry,
Community.
I can't see them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just had a question. Often next time. Or you can repeat the question. We can just repeat the question. I just noticed, and this photo is updated on Google Maps, it says urgent care, like on the building of, like on Broad, so you're not noticing it. And if we go from Broad, you'll see it.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's a little misleading based on what you said.
It's on the chimney. So my nurse practitioner that does my spine and rehab side, the company allowed her to have her own urgent care as well. So it's kind of basically on her time because obviously she can't pay on the company dime. So she has to schedule it around when she can like kind of fit it in. So like we're doing patients. So that makes sense. She'll have to kind of wait and see them when she can, or like during her lunch, for example, she'll sit there from 12 to 2 and work in the urgent care as well while work was on the spine rehab side.
Okay.
I mean, it's a commercial use, which would fall under the same guideline, yeah. We did discuss that during the zoning meeting, that she operates this, kind of at the same time. And I think what you said was that she is operating the urgent care, and because, you know, you don't want to kind of take the clients from their primary care doctor. If it's something that's not an urgent issue, then she refers them to their primary care.
Yes, exactly, because she doesn't want to obviously step on toes or prescribing different medications that, you know, if you're not being seen, she only sees you one time. She doesn't want to prescribe you something that your doctor isn't going to prescribe you that's seeing you for 10 years plus or whatever it may be.
Okay. I don't think I finished the English, but yes. So I'll move to approve this request for the variance for CV 23-135.
Second.
Second from Jen.
I was waiting for something. Thank you very much. Okay, Chair Whiting, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I'm just gonna move from my left, just like roll call. Commissioner Young?
Yes.
I am a yes. Commissioner Striker?
Yes.
Maddox?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Chair Fagan?
Yes.
Vice Chair Reese-Ryan?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Kepler?
Yes.
Commissioner Bates?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Kickley?
Yes.
And Commissioner Moore?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's unanimous.
Great. I will fill out that form and send it to the city planner. Usually takes me 2 or 3 days to do it, but if you don't get copied on it in the next couple of days, then feel free to send me an email to make sure that I send it.
Perfect, I appreciate it, thanks so much.
Thank you. Mr. Dallas is going to introduce our second application, which is CD 23-149.
Yeah, so these are at 385 Clarendon Avenue. The owner is Whitestone Real Estate Fund, represented by Helen Nilsson, who attended our meeting. The two buildings were in 1969 were conforming to our knowledge, but in order to get conventional financing, they're asking for variance. So they don't have any plans filled on the property. Is there
Seeking variance.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, we voted 2-1 not to recommend it as of right now, depending on the more information about like working with the city on whether it should be rezoned or whether it should be a variance.
Well, Brandon from the city, they had reviewed it. I guess they didn't review it when we had the last meeting. They hadn't reviewed it yet. And so they have since reviewed it and sent, they sent the email, I think, to Miss Winning about what they recommended. And he also, Brandon recommended that we actually add something to the variance, to the hardship. And so we went ahead. I don't know if you've gotten a copy of that or not. So the city has recommended that it be done. And did you get the email that said that? From Brandon of what after they reviewed it?
I got the city staff review.
Right,
Yeah.
correct. Okay.
It didn't say it didn't have any issues that were flagged.
Right, okay. So I don't know, again, this was built in 1969 as two buildings. There's 2 units in each building. Over time, the city of Columbus has changed their codes and things, so they didn't grandfather it in, which they should have done that back then, but it wasn't done. This was actually flagged where we had to get financing. It was flagged this last summer by the appraiser. The appraiser called the city zoning, and they told her for us to reach out to them and go through this process. Is what the city, so we have followed the direction of the city to get this taken care of. So when we go to sell it, if we go to sell it, the new buyer and things like that, or us can get financed on it. Because right now it's non-conforming, and it was conforming when it was built. It's not conforming now, but it's always been used as a residential property, and it will continue to be used as residential. So the recommendation was of the city to do this.
So it looks like the additional variance being requested to vary the rear yard requirement from 25% to 10% for the western dwelling and from 25 to 15% for the eastern, for both dwellings.
Right, because this is what Brandon had via his email had sent of what to add.
So that is just to decrease the yard size.
Correct. That's what he had said, to go ahead and add that, and we can add that as in the hardship, and he told to exactly add that. And then this was the letter that the city reviewed. That you stated.
So I think when we were discussing it at the meeting, the commissioners were confused as to why this was why this was a variance, or why you're requesting a variance rather than rezoning the lot.
Well, I guess for us, it's because the city of Columbus told us to go in this direction. And that's what we said then, and that's what, so we're following what the city of Columbus is telling us to do. And that's what I said at the last meeting. And then part of it was, you said, well, they hadn't reviewed it, the staff hadn't reviewed it. They have reviewed it, they gave, and then he even recommended that we add more variance language, and it's in the email exactly what to add.
Right.
So that's what we added. So I can't answer what the city is telling us to do, but that's.
So the 25% to 10% definitely makes sense. Like, that definitely makes sense as a variance, as to individual buildings. I guess one of the things that I was looking for after the last meeting was an explanation from the city as to why there was not a differentiation, or like why they decided to recommend a variance rather than rezoning. And did you not get a response to that question when you asked them?
Right, because so you want from the city a response as to why we shouldn't rezone it then?
Yeah, why are they recommending a variance rather than rezoning?
Okay. I can't answer. Again, what we're doing is we're following what the city is telling us to do. And I can't answer that.
Communication?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, we had a lot of emails back and forth, kind of.
Just ask if they can help me with that communication.
Well, that's,
So we had a lot of emails back and forth. I think the issue with this, they recommended that additional language be added requesting variances, which we did not consider at the zoning committee meeting because they had not been made yet. I hadn't received this, additional request for variances from 25% to 10%, until now. So I know that they recommended that to you, that you add that, but I didn't receive anything regarding that request. Like this letter that has that additional request is not sent to us.
well, what Brandon did is he emailed me what we should add, and then he said to go ahead. And so then he just sent it last night.
Okay.
And so then I did what he said. I actually cut and pasted word for word what he said, put it on there, and he said to bring you a copy of it. And so that's what I did.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, just procedurally, I guess what I'm saying is we didn't consider that as a zoning committee. So I think we have to decide, is that something that we want to consider at the zoning committee to make a recommendation here, or do we want to consider that right now? And that's really a question for Dan.
Mhm. So let me ask a clarifying question. When you presented this today, you said it was information related to the hardship, why you needed to request a variance. And what I looked at was, I just need another variance, right? So that's what you presented to us, along with the variance that was there with the initial application. There's an additional variance related to side yard, right? So I'm not ready to make a decision yet, because I want to make sure that we generate the rest of the questions that I think the full commission needs to understand. Because the variance, in my mind, this is the single one now that's before us, right? Was there a variance before?
No.
There was a use variance
Right.
before.
Right.
This is like a physical variance.
Right, it's like a different,
It's two different standards.
yes.
So why would Brandon, who we've been dealing with this process, recommend to do that if he knows what your process is? I feel like that's, I mean, I think that's what it was built in 1969. It was built the way it sits now. City of Columbus changed and.
So here's the decision I'm gonna make. I think that,
I go back to him and ask him about the zoning, and then we can come back at next month. I don't know.
So one of the things that we have a responsibility to do is to get as much information out to people that live in our community as possible, right? So as of last night, this came forward. typically we share this with the agenda, we get people to come. I don't know if anybody's here to ask questions about this tonight, but if anybody has, people have not been given the information, commissioners have not, and the people we're supposed to represent have not. So procedurally, I would say, given that we're requesting a variance that we haven't seen before, it should go back to committee. And that we would give the opportunity then to publicly share this, get any public input. Our next zoning committee meeting, we'll talk about when that will be. And then potentially would come back to our February meeting, which would be February. First Tuesday in February. 6th. Yeah. I mean, that's the decision I would make if you're asking process, what do we do? We've not seen this variance until this moment.
Yeah, as Ms. Nelson said, the city said, we suggest that you have, this additional request for variance, but they didn't send it to us. I don't know what exactly happened there, but I guess I agree with you procedurally.
So procedurally, then I'm going to ask if you make a motion about what our next steps would be.
I would move that we send this request for variance back to the zoning committee to be considered at the next zoning committee meeting, which is January 19th, I believe.
Any discussion related to the motion?
I would suggest that you invite Brandon to come to that meeting as well.
January 16th, 6 p.m.
I mean, it's, the problem is, and this is dumb, 100% dumb. The city puts you between us, 100%. I am a libertarian. You do what you want to do with your property. I don't care.
But we're not doing anything.
Right, I understand, but that's what the city is doing. They're putting you between us, which is not fair to you.
But I understand that, but it is we have been dealing with this since the summer. Truly. We called the city. We spoke with the top of the city people. We told them exactly how this was flagged. It was because of financing. Nothing in the usage is changed for this property. Nothing. Nothing will be changed. And this has become this big mess. And we have spoken and spoken and spoken. The appraiser has spoken to people at the city. This is what they're telling us to do. And now we come in front of the area commission and they're saying, no, the city's wrong. That's pretty much. So
we're saying it's not that the city's wrong. We're saying that there is a difference between the city and commissions. The reason commissions exist is to oversee what's going on in the areas and then make recommendations to the city. The city can make a recommendation if they'd like, but the process is this way.
Yeah, but isn't that?
It's just basic level bureaucracy.
What I'm going to do is ask, we're not going to debate this. We're not going to debate this. We're not going to debate it. I do want to say publicly, I think we're moving you along as quickly as possible. I wasn't even sure you were going to be on the agenda tonight. I put you on. We'll keep moving this along and really like to help this progress. Help you get you the information that you need. So I did want to see if anybody had any more discussions about the motion that's here about, do we need to go ahead and send this back to committee the way it's been motioned, or are we going to discuss another alternative?
Yeah, I think just as a comment, especially because it's a different type of variance, I think it makes more sense to have an open zoning committee meeting for the discussion.
So that's the motion. Is that the
motion?
That is.
Motion is to have it heard at the zoning committee meeting, which is January 16th, 6 p.m.
Right, Joe.
And I heard you strike for a second. I appreciate your presentation tonight. I understand this is challenging. It is also about setting a precedent for any other person who comes before us. I was going to vote probably in your favor tonight, but there's a new variance, and now I want to be able to consider that information, just like the 13, 12 other people who are not on that committee. And so it gives us an opportunity to kind of catch up with the information.
And I just want to say, from a human perspective, right? I understand your frustration. Yes. Okay, so I want you to know that we understand your frustration. Yeah. And it's very frustrating. I've had to go through zoning too, right? So I understand it. So just know that we do understand your frustration. Because I also feel like it's not like it's going from residential to commercial. It's not like we're adding anything. This property was legally built in 1969, and I feel like we were told all along by the city, this was truly just a stamp. This is the easiest thing because you're not doing anything different to the property. It's currently being used, and that's,
I think that's part of the reason that.
It
would be
makes me
good if
sad.
Brandon was there at the zoning committee.
This makes me
meeting, because
sad.
no one should be telling applicants that anything is a rubber stamp.
yeah.
Because if it was a rubber stamp, we wouldn't have to hear any.
And I get that because I am a realtor.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this
Yeah.
41 years in Columbus and sold a lot of property, so I understand that.
Yeah.
But I also feel that this is very,
We get it. Thank you.
all right, you have that
So-
paper, so
Need to-
so what day?
I need to.
What day
I
again?
need to, let's do a voice vote.
January 16th.
Let's do a voice vote, need to, right? So Joe,
Okay.
there's a motion on the table to move this back to the zoning committee, which will be held on Tuesday,
January 16th.
January
6 p.m.
16th.
Here at the library.
6
Here
p.m.
again, here, okay.
January 16th,
Okay.
6 p.m. here at the
I'll be
library.
back.
Simon, or Joe,
We're being asked to vote on it, so you can stay. Should be in the room.
she should, but she's.
Okay. Okay,
I can email her.
okay. The motion here is to vote that it goes back to committee. And for lack of better, just to sum it up. Okay, we'll start with Chair White
Yes.
and moving from my left. I'd like to see it go back to committee. Director.
Yes.
Alex. Neil,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes, sir.
Bates Fry,
Yes.
sorry with the formality here, White,
Yes.
Kepler,
Yes.
uh, Banks.
Yes.
Thank you, Smith.
Yeah.
Okay. Hunter.
Yes.
And.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Great, so that leads very easily into the rest of the zoning topics, which are, the next meeting is January 16th, 6 p.m. here at the library. That application for Clarendon, I think, is the only formal application that we're going to discuss. There are a couple of demolition requests. They are for 422 South Eureka Avenue, and also 608 Edwin Street. I just posted both of those on Facebook. So if anyone has any comments on those requests, they can leave them on our Facebook page.
I wasn't able to make it to the zoning meeting. I did email a question. Do you know if that got asked by?
About who manages the properties?
Mhm.
No, I don't think we discussed that, so I'll ask her that at this meeting.
Thanks.
Anything else?
No, thank you, Chair Winning and the committee for your work on these applications. If you could pass the mic to John, she could give us a report if he has one in our community relations committee.
Let's see, so we met on the 12th of December, and we discussed the spring summit, or open house, however we want to discuss it or call it, whatever. And so we had a good discussion around that. We will be meeting on the 23rd at 6:30 at the Design Refinery. And we'll be discussing more around the open house or whatever we want to call it. And we're also asking for all committee chairs to submit 2 or 3 potential topics per committee for the 23rd, that committee meeting. So we can kind of discuss and start to build out what that agenda may look like or what all we want to talk about. Well, yeah.
Great, thanks. Any questions for Josh? Our chairperson of our, our chairperson for government and legislation is Leah Bredno, but she's no longer on the commission. She fulfilled her term. So is there any committee member that has any updates? Anybody from on the current committee that would like to provide an update? Okay, hearing none. On to human services and education. Does our committee have a report?
Just want to invite any interested party to the next meeting, which is 6 p.m. here at the library on Wednesday, January 17th, and we will be planning out 2024.
Great, thank you. We have a committee called the Liquor Permit Review Committee. Our chairperson, Amy Stryker. Any report tonight? No. Okay. Do you have a next meeting scheduled?
like to schedule our next meeting after we have, people express interest in meeting.
Yeah, so, if you couldn't hear Andrew, we'll be kind of assigning new committees for this year. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the meeting. So you want to wait until the new committee's formed and then you'll announce them. Whoever's the chair is going to announce the next meeting. Okay, perfect. Our Planning and Economic Development Committee, Chairperson Simon Dallas, can I pass you the mic, sir? Do you have an update?
Yeah, so we did not meet this past December. However, we are going to be changing the time and day of our meeting to the third Thursday of the month, which for January is going to be the 18th at 6 p.m.
Where?
at the Hilltop Library, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Any questions for Simon at all? Okay, our Public Safety Committee, co-chairs at Hannah and Malik. Any updates?
Yeah, so we sent an email. Thank you. We sent an email on the pamphlet for the resident kits, right? Ashley helped out greatly on that, thanks. And then I sent you the quote that we've gotten, like $250 maybe with a 7.5% tax. So, and then I sent you OBC an email just now, like 15 minutes ago, just asking what that process is so that we can put that here.
Great. Do you have a next meeting scheduled?
Yeah, we usually meet the last Thursday of every month.
Okay.
Here at 6:30. 6:30.
Great.
If anyone is interested to be, any new members that want to sit on the public safety committee, that would be great, or even residents.
So if I get to summarize, what the committee's done is they've created a piece of literature that can be used in any door knocking that happens, any kind of public events that we have where GHAC is present. It's really well done. We're asking to use some of our funds to be able to print that in bulk. And so that's what the request is about. Since you have a procurement card and you don't have a procurement, somehow you have money for us that we can pay for this. All right. In your update. Okay, well, after the committees, we'll do that, if that's okay. Yeah, so more to come on how we spend some money, but we're gonna make this happen, right? Okay, awesome.
Well, you saw those lists of series questions that I was asking you about, like, hey, what are some questions? Or how do we answer some of these questions that residents would have? Yes. So that's basically it. So it's like a cheat sheet residential kit kind of that residents can have so that they know the numbers to call for like 311, right? What are the things that you wanna, what's the reason to call 311? Or important number for suicide and crisis.
Right. So we can go through your vendor, but we could also go through the print shop through the city. Might be cheaper that way. But either way, you'll be tax exempt.
Either way, even locally, it's tax free?
Yeah.
Okay. We wanted to try to support a Hilltop-based printer, but city is just as good.
Yeah, part of what they make sure we do is get everybody the tax exempt form that we can use. I think it's just a weird year with financing, but there is a document, a form that I can email to everybody if that's ever helpful. Just to give to a vendor as we're talking about price quotes or whatever. Okay. Thank you. Let me add those comments. All right, so on to Recreation and Parks Committee, Chairperson James White, do you have a report?
Yes.
The microphone.
Very busy last year. We do have a meeting planned for January 20th. This is a meeting where we're gonna have city staff out for Rex and Park. Hopefully Nancy can make it out now that she's the chair of Rex and Park. Hopefully Melissa Green. I know we had a conversation about some of the homeless activity within our parks. But we will be going over last year's audit reviews of Glenview, Holton, Stephen, Wrexham, and Rhodes at the January 20th meeting. And that is the 20th, 11 a.m. here at the library. I do have a request. This Parks and Rec might need a letter of support for Rhodes from the area commission to get a lease extension for Rhodes. the department can't do any actual park upgrades because it's leased from the state. The state won't give Rexham Park, longer than 5-year lease agreement. So therefore, no upgrades are gonna be happening in roads. More information to come, after, our monthly meeting with the city to see if that's gonna actually, be helpful or useful to them. And then February's meeting, we're gonna be going over Big Run, Georgian Heights, Westmore, and we're gonna be following up with Hans. It has a master redevelopment plan that's taking place right now. There's about $500,000 that the city's gonna be spending to redevelop that park. Hopefully more. I know we've got a big long laundry list of wishes for that park. And then our goal for next year is to create a GIS interactive map with all the parks in the hilltop, along with all of their amenities. So if you're interested in helping with that, please feel free to come to our meetings. Again, we also are going to be starting up our in the park audits and cleanups next year. The dates are TBA. We're going to be working on those the next 2 months, but we're going to be at Elkhire Woods, River Bend, Burroughs, Glenwood Rec Center, and the lower level, Lindenberg, Westgate Park and Rec Center, Wilson Roads, and Hiltonia. So keep an eye out for those dates. Those are going to be in-park meetings and cleanups. So feel free to come out, help us, and have a good discussion about the park that's in your neighborhood. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Commissioner White, could you tell us again what you said about Rhodes Park and who owns it?
So Rhodes Park is leased from the state. So all of the playground equipment, the basketball courts, all of that stuff is at its end of use life. The city wants to replace it, but the state won't give the city a lease agreement that is longer than 5 years because that stuff is so expensive to replace. The city wants a lease ideally longer than 5 years to make sure that they can recapture the value of that stuff that they're replacing and not wasting money replacing equipment that eventually is going to be taken out within a year if the state decides to do something with that land.
So it's not part of the park, it's the whole park.
It's the whole grounds.
Yep.
The whole area, that lower level is all leased from the state through the city, but the city needs a longer lease agreement before they will ever approve the replacement of the equipment that's sitting there.
Thank you.
You want me to primarily ask for the commission's approval to draft a letter for the support of a longer lease, or should I wait?
What I prefer you do is have the committee draft a letter to bring to the full commission.
I'll just go ahead and get that typed up and then get it to you guys, and then we just go ahead and vote at the next full meeting.
Does that work with timelines that we need to be most effective?
I asked about the letter of support. They didn't necessarily know how the state would proceed it, or if it would be beneficial, but I'd love to have the community's support and buy-in of either way. We as a full commission want that equipment replaced. That's what the committee is saying. It needs replaced. There's no other facility or park like Rhodes in the hilltop. So even if the state does decide to withdraw the lease, we're losing out on a big athletic field, along with the full basketball court, the ADA basketball court, the playground, the shelter. So I'd love to just push.
Yeah,
back to the-
so I could probably have a personal opinion more, it's personal, I'll own it. You know, I would like us to put a little thought into, are there options, right? To say, you know, either a longer lease or an agreement to share the, you know, declining capital expense and share that over time, something like that, right? I mean, I'd like options if possible. I mean, I certainly would like to write a letter of support. I mean, we need to talk about that as a committee, but if you could do that homework and present something to us, that would be what I would ask them to do. Now, thinking about what other options might potentially be out there as solutions to really get this done.
Any other questions?
If you hadn't heard about our committees, I always put the shameless plug in. You're welcome. All you need to do is Google Greater Hilltop Area Commission and we'll pop up. There's a calendar on our website. You can see all the scheduled meetings that we have for the next month. They'll be on there. You're welcome to attend. You don't, just come and listen if that's what you'd like to do, but shameless plug. Everybody in the community is welcome to these committee meetings, so. All right, so that concludes our report on committees, and I am officially 5 minutes ahead of time. So we've got some unfinished business tonight. If you weren't aware, we have Lisa, yes, thank you. No, we need to, can we squeeze you in? Yeah, so there's a microphone. Simon, thank you. Yeah, Louise is our neighborhood liaison with the City of Columbus. Welcome.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I was a little bit late. Happy New Year, and welcome to all our new commissioners. I look forward to working with you this year. I do have a couple of updates, and then mostly just some housekeeping, just for entering the new year, just some reminders. So first, the City of Columbus's Martin Luther King Jr. Day March is set for January 15th. That'll be at the Lincoln Theater. And you can RSVP using the link that's in the Westside Bulletin. I'll send that out over the next couple of weeks, or you can also go to the Department of Neighborhood's website to RSVP as well. So that's it for city updates. So now just area commission updates. Please don't forget to spend your money. As of right now, you do have a balance of $2,500, although there is a pending reimbursement of $101 that's set to come out. As of right now, spending is on pause because the books are closed. As the city auditors, going through their processing for 2023, those books should open by the end of January, unless I hear otherwise. But I will let you guys know. The deadline to spend out those funds is April 30th. There will be no more rollover due to not having those Huntington accounts anymore. So please spend it all out. Right now we have a temporary process in place where you will vote on whatever expense you would like to spend. That didn't make sense, but whatever expenses you have for the commission. You'll vote on that, and then I have a form that I will send directly to our fiscal department, and they will make the purchase for you. Please avoid reimbursements as much as possible, because the timetable for getting those processed is a little iffy at best, and I know that there's more paperwork involved on your end. It's not as simple as just showing me a receipt and writing a check anymore. So please, for the sake of simplicity, please let DON staff handle those purchases. It's all a matter of just giving me the vendor information. We can even handle it at the end of our meetings if that's more convenient. And just give me a deadline for when you need the items or when subscriptions need to be paid. Thank you for sending me that email, Josh. I'll definitely follow up with you on that, and they will take care of it directly until we have a permanent process put in place. Just a reminder for sunshine laws. Going back to committees, please be mindful of the number of commissioners that are attending those meetings, because if you hit an official quorum, that will be considered another full commission meeting, and that's not good. Also be mindful of discussions of business outside of public meetings. And then also, please keep track of the number of active commissioners versus non-commissioners on your committees, because you have allowed non-commissioners to participate fully, which is great. You also want to be mindful because those people have full voting rights. So, and also they count as part of your quorum for those committee meetings. So please just be mindful and keep track of who is an official part of those committees versus just a guest attending. And then for bylaws, so we have a new process within the Department of Neighborhoods, just because there've been some bylaws that unfortunately haven't been able to hold weight. So any proposed bylaw changes need to be submitted to legal counsel for review. before you can officially read and vote on them. This is more so for, your protection, so you don't run into any, conflicts or, just any, potential complex situations, so. That's all I have for you. Any questions?
Just a quick one, easy one, I think. Do we have to maintain a PO box? Do we have to maintain a mailing address? Do you know the answer to that question?
You do, but it doesn't have to be a PO box. You're more than welcome to use,
Okay.
Department of Neighborhoods address. You can use the Pride Center as well. It's whatever's most convenient for you.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you. And so your email that you referenced was about some of the subscriptions we have, like a Zoom license, constant contact, those kinds of things.
Right, so, now, you can't have like a reoccurring payment structure anymore because the procurement card that the Department of Neighborhoods has doesn't allow for reoccurring payments to be used. So we just need to be added as an authorized user and generate an invoice, which Zoom has all of that capability, and we'll pay it. So, if you're comfortable sharing your login information, that's what would be easiest, but if you could add us as an authorized user, we'll pay it. So.
Thank you, that's helpful.
What is the number or the percentage for us to be a quorum? We're a 14-person body?
15.
15, so what is our quorum number?
50% plus one.
50 plus one, okay.
So 8 commissioners attending a committee meeting would put us at a majority, or we'd be having a full commission meeting. Yeah.
So what is the workaround if we're planning this summit in the spring and it's probably gonna engage a lot of us in the planning? Do we schedule a public meeting here and it's just a planning working meeting, or, okay?
Yeah, you would just need to announce it as a public meeting.
Yep.
So send out the email like you
Yep.
usually would,
Yep.
things like that.
Perfect.
Any other questions for me?
One quick question. You said to add someone as an official user, like to Zoom, an authorized user. You mean like to add you personally, or who should we be adding to have it paid?
It would be, the Department of Neighborhoods fiscal staff. So I would, give you the person's email address.
Okay.
Oh, one last thing. Our new, Vision Zero coordinator, is currently, doing internal audits on, some corridors of focus that have had, high instances of, pedestrian crashes. And they're interested in working with one of the GHAC committees to be able to push that work forward. So I had suggested public safety or what was the other one? Sorry, economic development as potential collaborators in that. But please let me know if you're interested. She's looking to potentially engage those committees along with a small group of residents by the end of January. So yeah, please let me know if you're interested in that and I can forward you her information.
I just want to say thank you for your ongoing updates and email with the West Side Bulletin and all of that. They're just really, really fantastic. Just thank you for that work.
No, thank you. And if you guys have anything that you would like for me to share, please send it on. The more the better.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Simon, for catching me there. So on to unfinished business. We have, this is a 15-member body. Every commissioner that is elected has a 3-year term, and then we have 3 appointed seats. Each of those have a 3-year term, and Kayla Davis just finished the term for the appointed seat. She was not interested in running again. And that's okay, but that leaves a seat open tonight. And so the way this process works is that seated commissioners can nominate somebody for this open position. And so I'm going to open the floor for any nominations from commissioners. So, Jenny Kepler, raise your hand.
Do I get a microphone?
Yes.
So, I would like to nominate Mr. Steve Sheets, for Steve, you're in the back? For consideration for the appointed seat. Steve and I went to West High School together. He's been a lifelong Hilltopper. And I think the candidates get to introduce themselves, correct? At some point?
Yeah, what I'd like to do is hear do we have any additional nominations? And then if each
Okay.
candidate would like to speak, we could do the other.
Rock on. Okay, so I nominate Steve Sheets.
I'll take the mic if that's okay. I'd like to nominate Rick Kitchen. Rick ran for an elected seat. He's here tonight. Was got many votes. I personally have been in correspondence with Rick. He lives in the Greater Hilltop in an area that we don't have a lot of representation over, of Georgesville Road, over kind of by the Walmart area, in that area. And he's been very active in looking at the development that's been happening in the area. He's really dug into zoning, historical kinds of things about the neighborhood. It's an area that's ripe for development, and I think he's been paying really good attention to it. Rick's an educator. He's a social worker by background. He worked hard. He knocked on doors to kind of explain who we are and why he would be interested. Got a lot of signatures. I think he's attended meetings. We've seen him here, just generally interested. So I'd like to nominate Rick Kitchen for appointed seat. So.
I'd like to nominate Ashley Montana. Ashley, as a lot of you know, she shows up to just about every meeting, and you see her at a lot of community events. She actually has experience working for the 5th by Northwest area commission, where she was chair actually when she was in her early 20s, which a lot of us would not have been as prepared to hold that position in our early 20s. But with her background as a city planning major at Ohio State University, as well as working as a community engagement director for Franklinton Development Association, she's got a lot of community experience under her belt, and I think she'd make an outstanding commissioner. So,
Thank you. There's another.
Thank you. I would like to nominate JD Grove. I think a lot of you are familiar with JD. He previously served on this commission from 2016 to the end of 2020. And he was leading our economic development planning committee for a while there, and I think did a great job at that. And I'll let him speak for himself, but I believe he's working in the energy space now and has dealt with us in some of the city's approval of electric vehicle recharging stations and things of that nature. So I think he has a great commitment to our community and has lived here for his whole life, I think, or close to it. So I'll let JD speak for himself, but yeah, I want to nominate him.
Thank you. Any other? Well, this is a great problem to have.
I like it.
Did not expect this.
I would like to nominate Angel Manuel Cruz. Are you still interested? Okay. He lives off Pine Road, and I think that's already part of the district. I think it's important that we have a representative from the Hispanic community, because currently we don't. So I thought maybe Miguel would be a great fit.
On Angel?
Yes.
Okay.
Angel Manuel Cruz.
I'm sorry, am I hearing Angel Emmanuel Cruz?
Manuel Cruz.
Okay, so we have the microphone. 5 nominations for the appointed seat. Are there any other nominations from city commissioners? So the question is, what would be the term? We're gonna go through and we're gonna hear from the nominees, and then the term is for 3 years, beginning probably with February and then continuing through 2024, 25, and through the year 2026. So a 3-year commitment. Any other? I don't hear any more. So I would just voluntarily start with the order of nominations. Steve, do you want to say anything? Give you a couple of minutes, maybe 2. You like to?
Yeah, put you right on the spot.
Come on up to the podium too.
Test. Yeah, I just want to introduce myself real quick. I spoke to Jenny earlier on the phone, and she had mentioned that she was gonna nominate me for this. I wrote a letter of interest in December. I read the Messenger article about a misspelling on a voting ballot or something along those lines, and at the end it said there was open seat, so feel like I'm at a point in my life, I'm gonna be 50 years old on Saturday, and I'm a retired school teacher. I actually taught school and was a head football coach at West for a number of years, and it's important to me to give back to the community that I grew up in. My grandparents went to West in the 40s, I think the date to be specific. And it would be an honor to take part in your activities and be a member of the committee.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Rick, would you like to say anything? Yeah, thanks.
Good evening. My name is Rick Kitchen. First of all, thank all of you for your service to the community. Very much appreciate it. In the times that I've been able to speak to Mr. Fagan, I've learned a great deal and learned a great deal through the process. Been a lifelong Columbus resident all my life. I've been a member of the, actually, I have residents of Greater Hilltop for the last 14 years. And as Mr. Fagan said, I live in the Georgeville area, and taken a great interest in the area as far as zoning, in the area of human services and education. Obviously, as an educator, that's a great passion of mine, to be able to be involved, believe heavily in health equity. And those are, very important issues for me. My parents grew up here as well. They basically taught me a blue collar work type of an ethic. And I've always believed heavily in basically having relationships, listening first, not making quick judgments, always being able to take in all the data, taking information, making those relationships with people. Yes, you're going to have days where you may not agree with individuals, but you still have that relationship with that person and can still work with them. That's something that's very important, and something that personally for myself is a very important aspect of how I like to live my life. So again, I'm thankful for this nomination, Mr. Fagan. Again, thank you to all of you for your service. If I am able to do this, I look forward to working with the communities. I look forward to working with the community as far as reaching out and to be able to serve. And that's truly what I'd like to do, with be able to serve. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick. Ashley, would you like to say anything?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ashley Montana. If we have not met, thank you, Dean, for that very kind and thorough introduction. A couple things I just wanted to add or expand on. So I'm a current resident on Roy's Avenue. My husband and I bought our house in 2020, and we love living there with our 2 cats. I've been working on the West Side since 2016. I'm the Community Engagement Director at Franklinton Development Association. My main roles while working at FDA are managing our resource websites, franklinton.org and hilltopusa.org, to get members of this community connected to resources and events that are happening. In addition to that, I also oversee a financial literacy program called the Financial Life Skills Program. And one of the things that I'm really excited that we got to do last year was we canvassed 2,000 homes within the Greater West Side, and over 1,000 of those were on the hilltop. So talking with neighbors and also providing resources. As Dean mentioned, I have my degree from the Ohio State University in City and Regional Planning. I graduated in 2016. While I was in school in City and Regional Planning, I served as an intern to the chair for the 5th by Northwest Area Commission, which is a little area that most people think is Grandview Heights, but it's actually the city of Columbus. I lived and worked there at the time. So I was an intern from 2014 to 2016. And then I was elected commissioner in 2016, and I served until 2019. And the reason I actually resigned from my position is I wanted to start coming to these meetings because we were planning on launching hilltopusa.org. But I did serve as chair for 2 years from 2017 to 2019. So I know a lot of the struggles that Dan and other commissioners have gone through. In addition to these works, I'm also the Envision Hilltop Subcommittee Home Chair and an advisory committee member. And because of that, I regularly attend the Planning and Economic Development Committee meetings and have advocated for, the land bank policy, to reflect the Envision Hilltop plan, mainly advocating for mixed income housing and affordable housing, especially for low income families. And one of the things I wanted to end on is whether I'm elected or not, there are a lot of really great candidates and faces here. I'm still going to be attending, so I still hope to be a part of this community and a neighbor. Thanks.
Thank you, Ashley. JD, would you like to speak?
It's a little different to have. It's a little different to have a microphone at these meetings. It's been a while since I've been in. I wanted to thank everyone, and also congratulations to the new members on your seats and the candidates. It's pretty exciting to have 5 people going for an appointment. I don't think during my time that was something that we saw. So it's pretty awesome. My name is JD Groves. I served on the commission from 2016 to around COVID. I am from the Hilltop. I went to West, much like Steve. It's good to see you, by the way. So I served on the commission from 16 to 20, and during my time on the commission, I served primarily with zoning and also leadership of planning and economic development. At that time, I also worked in labor, so my experience with collective bargaining and that sort of thing is something that's dear to me, that I've worked to advocate for my time on convention. Disseminating information for opportunities for our community to be a part of those programs and that sort of thing. So I work diligently as in leadership, planning and economic development, with a primary focus on job opportunity, job creation for the members of our community. I believe that there are there are certain opportunities out there that sometimes just having the information given to you from somebody that you can trust is very important these days, especially for our young people who may not know the opportunities that they have. So my personal career, I run an electric company that focuses in single family new build and also renovation construction, and also commercial electrical construction. And also the mention of Rachel, by the way, thank you for the endorsement. I really appreciate that. I worked with the city in terms of laying out the city code for electric vehicle parking, electric vehicle charging stations, which will encompass the city in the next 50 to 100 years. And at the time, last year, the year before, when I was actively involved in that, there was probably, I think, between 400 and 500 of the charging stations in the city. And so primarily what my focus was to represent the Hilltop and advocate for the disparity in the charging station infrastructure that's already being put in place, much like a lot of my work with planning and economic development, where we see disparities across the city, where we see development or disparities across the city that we don't see the opportunity on the Hilltop. So my job at that time, in partnership with Impact Community Action, if you guys are familiar with them, was to illuminate some of these disparities. And at that time, the Hilltop had one charging station, which was, I think, not even a full 240 volt. And to my knowledge, that's still the only one that's here on Georgeville Pathways Credit Union. That was the only one. So, through the course of my involvement with not just the commission and on committee and working with Impact, the past several years, it's been my job has been to advocate for the Hilltop, where there are disparities in job creation, opportunities for our youth and community members, and also a look, a vision toward the future. Because, what we're dealing with now is an opportunity to move forward, and there's no better opportunity to equal the playing field than technology. And so many of our youth these days, especially, they are just crazy on these devices and phones. And geez, I was big on Nintendo 64 and James Bond and all that stuff, Mario Brothers when I was a kid. But these kids today, the youth of today, they have these phones, and so we're moving forward at such an astronomical rate. And technology, I really believe, is a equalizer of socioeconomic upward mobility. When you have a disparity and opportunity across the line, and in this case on the hilltop, the advocacy is so important to make sure that the opportunities are there. And so we have those opportunities that are very important. So I won't take up any more time. I do appreciate the endorsement again from Rachel, and it's good seeing everyone, and thank you.
Angel Emmanuel Cruz, would you like to say anything?
I'll use this. Hello, my name is Angel Cruz. I am 22 years old. I grew up on the east side of Columbus. However, just recently I moved over here to the west side of Columbus. My family has resided here on the Hilltop, Valley View area and Climb Road.
Yeah.
Can you use the microphone?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, here we go. That's better. Okay, so we have recently have moved out here to the west side. I don't have as much experience as the rest of the candidates do, being a part of council or advising anyone. However, what does passion me is helping my Hispanic community out. Therefore, my mom here present and my auntie, which are part of an organization called Alianza 614, we help out the Hispanic community out near St. Stephen, which is out on Climb Road. Every third Wednesday of the month, we do a food drive. So those people who don't have or can't access food are able to pick it up. I, as a local business owner, I own a food truck and a landscape business. And I have recently picked up the Eden Park, which is just over here on Hague Avenue. On Harris Avenue, I'm sorry. So my goal is to bring the community a park that they can enjoy. And I'm doing that out of my landscaping business as to help out the community and help this organization and Hispanics know that they are able to access a lot of things here in the Hilltop area that we don't or are not aware of more than anything. So moving forward, I want to help my community out at least, because it feels like it doesn't get represented as much a lot of the time. So that represented to me is very important, especially coming out from the east side where I didn't see a lot of representation. And being out here, knowing that there's a big, strong community, I would like to see that, being represented out here. That's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Angel, JD, Ashley, Steve, thank you very much. I need to reframe something. I said it's a good problem to have. This is not a problem. This is a blessing. This is amazing. I took the time to just kind of put everybody on a screen here, just because we're going to have to go through a process, a difficult process of going through, and we're going to vote for who you would like to see. We're going to go around. We're going to ask everybody who your vote is. Of these 5 people that have been brought forward, what will happen is that there will be 2 candidates that will have the most votes, and then we'll be asking, how does this work? If whoever gets the most votes, we narrow it down to the 2 top people. I'm asking procedurally.
Yeah, well, we have the bylaws.
I told you I was going to need some help tonight. I've done
We're
this
doing
before.
all voice votes first?
We're gonna need to do a voice vote. That's the way we're gonna roll. And
Would you like me to just read it?
Yeah, give me the
just 3 points here. So this is some Article 4, voting procedures for appointments and officer elections. A majority of members in attendance is required to nominate for appointment or elected officer. If more than 2 candidates are seeking nomination to fill a vacant seat or election to an officer position, and no majority favors a particular candidate after the ballot, so no majority, then any tie shall be determined by lot, as defined in section C below, while any plurality would continue to the next voting round, the highest vote getters. Another vote shall be cast between the remaining candidates. receiving the most votes on the previous ballot. If no candidate garners a majority on this vote, the previous procedure will continue until a candidate is selected.
So if a candidate were to get 8 votes, they would be appointed to the seat. If there's less than 8 votes, then we're going to take the highest vote getters and go back through and do another voice vote.
4 and then 3.
Right. So procedurally, that's how, does anybody have any questions about that before we get started? So we are going to go to everybody. Joe will take a voice vote and we'll talk about who your vote is for the appointed seat.
All right. And the way I'm going to track it here is put each person's name and then talk about. I'm going to start in the opposite direction this time and go over to Commissioner Lamar.
So you need me to say one of those names. I'm gonna go Ashley Montana.
Angel.
Commissioner Kipling.
He didn't hear that.
Angel.
Yes, okay. Okay, Smith.
Montana.
Nick.
Angel.
Kepler.
Steve.
Wait.
Angel.
Victoria.
Angel.
Me.
I'm going to vote for Rick Kitchen.
Me.
Ashley Montana.
Ashley.
Winning. I will vote for Mr. Kitchen. And Mr.
Montana.
All right, so with 5 is Ashley Montana. With 4 is Mr. Cruz. With 2 each are Mr. Sheets and Mr. Kitchen. And with 1 is Mr. Cook.
So because there's not a majority with the highest vote, which would be 5, now we're going to take a voice vote for Steve Sheets, Rick Kitchen, Ashley Montana, and Angel Emmanuel Cruz. Is that procedurally I would do next? So whenever you're ready.
Okay, and I'll go back around the
Wait,
opposite.
I've got a question.
Yeah, so we're gonna go back through and we'll vote, identify who we're gonna vote for again. The same process.
Yep.
Okay,
You can change your vote
just without the lowest.
if you
Okay.
want.
Okay.
You're down.
Montana.
Who did you say?
Montana.
Kitchen. What?
Mr. Cruz.
Montana.
Maddox.
Montana.
Steve.
Chair Piggy.
I'm going to vote for Ashley.
Chair Reed.
Mr. Cruz.
Mr. Cruz.
Kepler.
Steve.
Mr. Cruz.
Montana.
Smith.
Cruz.
Montana.
All right, so with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Ashley Montana. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that right? 5. No. I think I missed the final 4. Oh, yeah, of course. Okay, Thank you. With 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is Mr. Cruz.
You wrote Cruz instead.
Yeah, so I just needed to make sure. With 2 is Mr. Sheets and with 1 was Mr. Kitchen.
Just publicly, is this the numbers that you have, Jim?
2, 1, 6, and 5. All right. So Kitchen.
Thank you, JD. Thank you, Rick. So now we will do this one more time because we don't have a majority vote. The highest vote getter was 6. So now we have Steve Sheets, Ashley Montana, and Angel Emmanuel Cruz to vote from. So
we start with you, Mr. Chair, and we'll go.
Ashley Montana. Would love to vote for Ashley.
Mr. Cruz.
Mr. Cruz.
Mr. Cruz.
Mr. Cruz.
Montana.
Mr. Cruz.
Montana.
Montana.
Oh, it's just tricky when I shared on Mr. Cruz.
Yeah.
Montana. Hello. 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we are in even numbers, so we have now come to 7 apiece.
I mean,
We
it's a draw up.
We have been in this situation before, where we've had to do this. Somebody have a ping pong ball, or I don't mean, what do we do? Yeah. Thanks for catching that.
We need a lot, right? We're drawing a lot.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
Somebody have these together.
So,
We can do it digital.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, potentially digital, rock, paper, scissors.
The chairs, oh my God.
I mean, literally, I think I'm just gonna write down 2 names. I'm gonna crumple them up. I'm gonna put them in my hands and I'm gonna ask somebody in the audience to pick the name. So does that sound like process? What's that? Oh, okay.
What you got, a hat?
So let me take a look. It's some kind of like spinning wheel that you put your people's names on and hit it and it spins. I don't know. Let me just do this.
That looks more fun.
Let's show we are.
I'm just gonna go.
What's heavier than bread?
Let's get so old.
Not that I think that you know.
There are some out there that are big.
I think we could ask the candidates if they have.
I wish we could go.
Can they both serve?
Sergeant Brophy, can I ask you to be the person to pick? Please?
So whoever's name is picked wins,
Yeah, we gotta clarify.
to be clear.
Yeah. I'll be asking you if you're willing to take the position.
Yeah.
I'll pick a winner. We'll do that. So, yeah, don't look in the bag.
This will be the.
We all just make sure that we're 2 points. 2 people favorites.
Okay, I'll pick a winner.
Is
This is the tag. I don't know about it, but I have this level of interest in this. So.
Name on both.
I'll be fine, we wrote both names, you know, each name on the paper.
Oh, that's 20 pick? No, I haven't picked yet. Show it.
Yes. Yeah.
Just demonstrated
that both. This is an angels, the first names.
All right. I'll let those put them in. How you might ball them up.
folded one and fold the other one.
Hey, this draws it out. I like that.
I know.
How many push-ups?
I'm right.
So you can pick one piece of paper out of there?
Say back here, I have here.
Good charity.
There's one piece of paper in your hand, there's one piece of paper in the back. Why don't you open it and read it? Okay.
Let me see, let me look at this.
And, congratulations, Angel.
Yeah.
Thank you. Absolutely. So Angel, you're willing to accept this position?
Like I was saying, I'd love to help us out, our community.
Yeah.
I think I really would like to see, I'd love to be sitting up here with you guys and doing this and moving forward, helping us out. However, I feel Ashley deserves this more than anything. Wow. Yeah, because I do have a lot more that I want to pursue as well. I much rather be involved with you guys in this community and advising you guys on what our community needs. I feel like I have a lot of representation in life before, and I have recently started a folklore group called Sentiol, which is the god of the corn. And we have started that with my mom and I to assist kids that are doing, bad things, probably not the best things in life or the best choices. So my mom and I have started that or that group more than anything to assist these kids that want something better in life, other than, being on social media on their phones or getting into drugs, and at least in this area in the Hilltop community. So partnering with Alliance 614, I do want to see us grow as an organization and with the help of this council, moving forward and seeing the Hispanic community represented more than anything. I gladly accept everything that you have done for me, Miss Annette. We talked briefly, and I think we made a great connection. So having someone on this chair and being part of the council will be a great impact for our community, and I will see that happen because I know you guys will do as much as you guys can to represent us. So I think Ashley has more experience over me, and I would much rather have someone be up there that would absolutely love and help back and give back to our community as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Will you come back to the commission meetings to get involved though?
Part of the community, and I will assist in future meetings.
Yeah.
Especially, when it comes to, for example, parks and recreational, but there's a lot of things that Hispanics would love to be part of, and being represented out here would be a great impact for us.
Well, please come back.
Most definitely. Thank you.
Okay, so.
Wait.
Yeah.
Thank you. Procedurally, I wanted to ask if you'd accept the nomination, you said no. I think we're at a point where I need to think through this.
Yeah.
Because would that have changed people's vote? If you knew that he wasn't gonna accept the nomination, so, do we start to hear again? Yeah, that's always been.
You don't have to renominate, like you have to take another vote.
Yeah.
The first four of everyone. That makes sense.
Yeah, so, Joe, you know how this rolls, so we're gonna do a voice vote. In the order of nominations, we're,
Second, first round.
sorry, let me type these up really quick. Is that helpful? Just type them up real quick.
I have them on the list.
Do the other four accept?
Yeah, I need to make sure that, everybody that would be, up for vote again would like to pursue this. One very nice.
I guess we could ask that.
Yeah. Steve Sheets, you willing to go through the procedure again, and are you still interested in the position? All right, Rick, are you still interested? Thank you, sir. Ashley Montana, are you still interested? Awesome. JD Groves, are you still interested?
Yeah, I feel like Ashley should have.
So you are interested?
Yeah, I'm interested.
Okay, so we have 4 nominations, so let's start Voting.
All right, start here on my left. Commissioner Gauss.
Montana.
I will go for Mr. Kitchen. Commissioner Wayne,
Mr. Gross.
Striker,
Montana.
Commissioner Madden.
Montana.
Chair Fagan.
Mr. Kitchen.
Vice Chair Beechmeyer.
Montana.
Mr. White.
Kitchen.
Mr. Kemper.
Steve.
Montana.
Montana.
Commissioner Dupuy.
Montana.
Commissioner Moore.
Montana.
Seven, that is 8. I have 4.
That's 7.
3 for Mr. Kitchen.
I have 8 for Montana.
I also have 8 for Montana.
So can I just report here? So how many votes did Steve get?
2. Mr. Neal and
Mr. Kitchen?
3, Ardra, Fagan, White.
Ashman?
8, Dallas, Striker, Maddox, Bates, Fry, Bates, Smith, Plant, Moore.
Does it look like that?
8 and yes.
So we have voted a majority that Ashley would be our appointed seat. Congratulations. Really exciting. So you probably know the process that there's some paperwork that we'll be filling out. All of you, so you'll help us do that, right? So that document will go to the mayor's office for sign off and approval, and then you it takes about 30 days. So we may not officially be able to welcome you to the February commission meeting. I'm not sure.
I didn't clarify them.
Okay. Well, you are welcome. You know, you may or may not be able to vote on what's here, depending on if the approval goes through, is the way I understand it, the way this works. But that's not, we'll get that done soon, in the beginning of February. So, all right. So we're at 8:27, guys. The library closes at 9 o'clock. So we've got some final business here for the evening. Each year, our bylaws require that we do officer elections. So there's 4 officer positions on the commission: chairperson, vice chairperson, secretary, and treasurer. All of these positions serve a term of 1 year. And so if I'm following the bylaws correctly, I'm going to ask if you can nominate yourself or you can nominate another commissioner. You know, hopefully you've talked with them before tonight, but if you'd like to nominate somebody, you can do that. So the chair position is the first we're going to talk about. Are there any nominations for the chair position?
I nominate Victoria.
You nominate Victoria Bates Fry.
Yes. I think I'm gonna drop the Bates since we got another date.
Victoria Fry.
Perfect. Okay. Any other nominations for chair?
Can we ask if she accepts the nomination?
We can ask if she accepts them. I mean, I want to see if there's other
Yeah.
nominations, and then we'll say, do you want to accept the job or the nomination? Any other nominations for chair? Well, hearing none, then we have a new chair for the Greater Hilltop Area Commission. Would you like to accept?
Let's see. Yes, I accept.
I'm worn out of procedure.
I know.
I'm so excited. Congratulations. That's great. So let's move on. Do we have any nominations for the vice chair for the Greater Hilltop Area Commission?
I nominate them.
Oh,
I'm gonna start nominating everybody.
I nominate Dan Fagan.
I want to nominate Joe. Great. But I haven't talked to Joe, so I don't know.
No, you haven't.
Yeah.
Do we have to say whether or not we accept, and what are you thinking?
You have to go first.
Order of, alphabetical order, I'm trying to move forward, but I'm under this ban. Cool. I don't accept, but I'll tell you why I'm in.
Because we need him as secretary.
I would be, certainly willing to accept the nomination as vice chair. Yes, I get the job.
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
that.
If we don't hear the nominations, but procedurally, do we need to take a vote?
I mean, yeah, let me check. For officers, right? This is officers.
Yeah.
So if more than two candidates, are nominated, then you go to an election, but I decline that one. There's one candidate in the first round and one candidate in the second round.
All right, so on to the position of secretary, open for nominations for the position. of
Arduro
secretary.
nominates Arduro.
I second that.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
All right, so let me do my job here. Is there any other nominations for secretary?
Yeah. Right from.
Hearing none, you're our secretary for 2024, Joe. Nominate yourself.
Yeah,
Assuming.
yeah. I'm assuming she's that, yeah.
That was last, we're all relieved that we don't have that.
Who said this work couldn't be fun? You know, this is a blast. So, the treasurer position is open. So, do you have a nomination for a treasurer?
Yes, Mr. Dean Smith.
Smith.
I already talked to him.
You talked to him.
Yeah.
Are there any other nominations for treasurer? This is. Got the job. Congratulations. Okay, so in my final moments here of new business, what we're gonna ask all commissioners to do is, on the agenda, there was all the committees, zoning, community relations, government legislation, et cetera. Would you send the preferences for the committees that you would like to be a part of to Victoria as soon as possible? So, you can select 2 or 3. Ideally, we would like to see you participate in at least 2 committees if possible. If you're interested in chairing one of those committees, please let Victoria know that also. Our bylaws say that we need to seat committees by February's meeting. It'll be announced at February's full commission meeting, what committees you're a part of and what chairpersonship is gonna look like. So, any questions about that?
I do have an addition to that.
Yes.
Because I'm taking over. In your subject line, please put chair, right, committee selection or something like that, okay? So it won't get lost in all the emails we get. So in your subject line, put committee selection. Thank you.
And just a little order of business, Ashley, it will be important for you to maybe create an email that's specific to GHAC, right? And so just share that with either myself or Joe or Victoria as the chair. And then just what other contact information you have that you would like to share with the rest of the commission. Okay. So with no other business on the agenda, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn. Hold on. Hold your hand.
Just wanted to make a quick comment. If you wanted to make that purchase, you will need to take a vote. You'll need to vote.
For each purchase, every time?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you wanted to go with the vendor that you have the quote for, you're welcome to do that, but we'll need a vote before I can submit.
Does that mean I need to vote for Restream, Zoom, and Constant Contact?
You can vote for them collectively, like a bunch at once, or do you have to vote?
No, you can vote for them collectively, but we just, for this specific new expense, it just needs to be.
And is that a vote we can do by email ever or no? Okay, all right.
So Lisa, sorry to ask a question. So because we're picking a specific vendor, or what's the reason that we have to do this? Just explain.
For this particular purchase, it's like it's a one-time, trying to figure out the best way to explain it. So when you have your reoccurring expenses, it's automatically assumed that it comes out of your budget every year.
I see.
This is a one-time one expense.
One-time payment.
So it's some, yeah, one-time payment, so it's something that you would need to.
And so, not to be difficult, but in the memorandum of understanding that we submitted, we said that we are gonna spend so much money on communication materials and just for future meetings. how's
None
this
of that
gonna
it matters.
None of it matters.
The MOU is completely
It's
out.
gone.
be? Oh, I understand now. That helps me understand. Okay, so,
Just give a rough estimate, like.
Yeah, you
what
could
if
say
it's
up
about-
to, we could say up to X amount of dollars.
Okay, so up to 200.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2, 3.
Up to 25.
300, all right.
so let me make sure. And on, you could say there's a quote for printing 2,500 of the items that you have holding in your hand, 25, they're double-sided print, kind of heavier card paper. Could be used as a door hanger or whatever. And you're estimating that that's gonna be about up to $300.
Yes, up to,
Up to $300, right? So, that's
it
around.
could be less,
Mhm.
right?
Is it union
Yes,
printed? So it'll include a plug.
yes, I don't know if that's an bylaw for that, but yeah, you can request.
I don't think it's in our bylaws, but that's, yeah, my vote is contingent on that. Making sure that it's a union.
Sorry, I forgot to ask.
It's the Hilltop printer, what's it called?
They all do it, well, not all, but the fireside does.
Pro printing.
Fireball.
Fireball.
Fireball does it.
So it's pro printing, it's on the corner of Georgieville and Broad. There in that shopping center is where you reached out to.
The quote I provided is from Fire. what is it?
Fireball.
Yeah,
Fireball's
Fireball,
union.
and there is the ability to print union on it and all of that, the quote that I provided. you
Fireball
includes
press.
Everything plus a union, but
Yeah.
yes.
The fireball is definitely, I don't know about pro printing. It'd be the only thing. So if we're voting on it, I would make a contingent that we go with the fireball.
I agree.
Or contingent upon it having a union stamp.
Being union printed, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me summarize then. So we're gonna put a motion on the table to print 2,500 of those, which equate to about 8 cents a piece. To do that, we're gonna use Fire Press to be able to do the print job up to $300.
Yes.
Does anybody have any issues with that?
Can we leave it open and say a union press, a union shop? That way a fire, we can go with either of the two locals, if we word it that way.
You're fine with that? So, yeah, I think that's limiting enough to say, yeah, perfect. Do I need to repeat it?
Yeah.
I need to repeat it. So, we're gonna authorize the use of the funds that the city of Columbus gives us up to $300 to print the cards that were produced by the Public Safety Committee in the amount, the quantity of $2,500, 2,500 pieces, for up to $300 using Fireball Press or a, union, affiliated printer.
Quick question, I don't wanna, whatever. So, it looks like they're in the short north. So why are we favoring Union over Hilltop?
Union labor is high value, that it's important that I believe personally, from my personal values, that labor should be recognized and that we should be using fair labor, which is union labor. And so I'm not opposed to using a print shop that is union in the Hilltop. But I would not vote for printing something that is not union printed.
So I would want the contingency to be, it needs to be a Hilltop printer. Be it Union, fine, I don't really care, but I don't know that we wanna.
But we know where we gotta go.
And that's,
Unless there is a union printer at the Hilltop, and then.
I myself would default to, let's put our money in the Hilltop.
Yeah,
Over-
so that's why, as the motion's put out there, there's an opportunity to discuss this and kind of debate it, so, the motion, let me make it stand. I put all those words into it. I think everybody understood. Does anybody want to second that?
I'll second.
All right, so now let's discuss any other options that we would like to talk about. So one would be, let's use a Hilltop printer.
That would be to amend the motion to add that it be contingent on being a Hilltop.
Hilltop union.
So question, who printed this?
I don't know.
All the previous, huh? What about the previous little?
Everything that we've done with the cards that we've done in the last year or so, it's been pro printing over in the corner of Georgesville and Broad.
Do we ever confirm whether they can do union printing or not, or the union button on there?
I'm looking on their
We've
website just
never-
locally.
I've never asked. We've given them their logo, they've got it on, our logo, they've got it on file. They've done
Should
a
we
couple
just
of
do
jobs.
Isn't the issue whether or not they have union labor and not whether or not they can print a union style?
They can't print it unless.
He's talking about union labor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
But most union laborers do the union buttons.
right.
Yeah.
Well, if they're unionized, you can
Yeah.
request that as,
Yeah.
you know.
So I will confirm to see if there's any locals in Hilltop that can do fairly union days, but I'll get back to you guys on that.
They'll delay the approval of the expenditure until our next full commission meeting.
Approve on the budget. Can you just say, can we just approve that we will, that the printing of $300, and then I can do the rest? Yeah, so let's just approve on the
You just
budget.
need to approve the expense. It doesn't have to be specific for vendor. In order for me to be able to submit it to DON for processing, that's when I'll need.
It just has to have a majority vote to say we approve the use of $300 to print these cards. We're creative with public safety.
If we're lifting up the voice of the body, we have one of the body that said they want to make it contingent that it's union, and then another in the body is said in the Hilltop.
Well, then I'm gonna just postpone this vote until we get some more information about is it possible to find a shop on the Hilltop that can use union labor to do printing. Union labor to do printing, right? Union affiliated labor. Right? Sound okay with everybody?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So you're tabling your motion.
I am tabling. Thank you, our parliamentarian. That's really helpful.
Yours.
I know, I'm
Yeah,
looking at it like, don't go anywhere.
No, that's so helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping with the procedure. So we're gonna table the motion. We'll get some more information. We'll bring it up at the next full commission meeting in February. I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn our meeting for tonight. Thank you.
Yeah.
You did?